Welcome back to another exciting episode of Relocate to Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Luca Chaquet, and today we're going to talk about happiness at the workplace with Madalena. Madalena Carrey is the founder and director of Happiness Business School, a corporate happiness academy that partners with clients and students across 25 plus countries. She's the director of the MBA in Organizational Happiness at Lisbon Business and Government School. A corporate happiness specialist, she holds advanced training in the science of happiness, well-being, positive psychology, and mental health. Her mission is to challenge traditional workplace paradigms and create meaningful, fulfilling work environments that empower both individuals and organizations to thrive. Today, we're going to have a conversation about happiness, life, high performance, happiness and AI.
You can do this. It's a game.
This was just the first question.
Sorry.
Never thought I'd say that.
No.
You know what? Why?
I'm just thinking about the avocado, meat, food, potato. Like being very focused.
And I'm running, not ready, in underwear.
Oh, will she come in her lingerie? Like
You have to schedule sex. Put it like that.
All we need is love.
Relocate to happiness.
Madalena, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the time to come, right?
It's been a while. We were trying to arrange this, right?
I'm so excited. Honestly, I always say this to all my guests, but today I'm really, really excited that we managed to, you showed up actually, and we managed, we both had like some crazy months. And I think it's a good way, it's a good thing that September and October are so full.
Yeah, we made it. We made it. And I said that I will start with a meditation or something just to calm myself to... Anyway, welcome to my crib. This is my studio. I always say, it's my playground. Here we forget, everybody comes and they're a bit stressed at the beginning. Then they forget about the microphones. They forget about the cameras, the lights. So... Love the space, love E18. So very happy to be here.
Me too. And talking about happiness, because this is what we're here for, let's go straight. And before we start I want to talk about your journey about, from Happiness Business School. I want to ask you about happiness. So personally, what is happiness for you? And what is happiness for you, like from the point of view, like of businesses? And how important is this to today for leaders and for business owners, right?
Yeah. Straight to the question.
Yeah.
Well, for me, happiness, and I love to say, you've had other guests, probably everyone has their own definition. So I think like a very important thing to say is that nothing is an absolute truth. It's something I've learned, over the years. For me, it's really an experience of well-being, peace, connectedness, and fulfillment, together with this sense that one's life is of meaning, that we have impact. We're here, to live a life that is worth living. But to get to this, sense and feeling and way of feeling. And for me, it's really a mental state and a spiritual state. Has nothing to do with, just an emotion. For me, an emotion, a positive emotion is like joy, For me, happiness is really more like a construct. So you get to that through different, through a construct. And in this construct, you have very complex factors that play together, and they play differently in every single person, which is like genetics, life circumstances, like our own circumstances individually, but also, the systems we live in, and also then the activities that we practice every single day, habits, rituals, and so forth, that really help us, reach that higher sense of happiness. So it is a construct, but for me the definition and how we get there is very different for every single person. When it comes to businesses,
just a second,
yes.
I just want, why I was smiling when you said that, except for your lovely definition or like what it means for you.
Yeah.
I really think that when you said state of mind, remember I asked you before, like, how do you manage to get like so calm, and how do you put this all together? Because like I think you're the calmest person I've ever met, and I can it's just like I don't think has it always been like this?
No, not at all. I think we all live in this duality, right? So I think like sometimes I do have a hurricane inside of myself. Sometimes I can go through a big storm and just really be calm. And I wasn't always this person. I was very impulsive, like very reactive. And I think I've developed to just get more tools and just really remain calm. It's not always like that, especially at home with kids. But yeah, I think in business, especially and leading the team, I think I just lead myself.
I'm telling you
way.
what I see from outside. You're just like someone very, very calm, very self-confident, very, grounded, I would say.
Yeah. I think I've learned over the years, I was always relying on external things to feel good. And now it's the opposite, A lot of times the noise outside can disturb your inner peace. But what I found is that to just maintain that within myself, regardless of what's happening around. So I think it's still a work in progress.
Yeah. Always, right?
Yeah, always. It's a work for life. And that takes a lot of the pressure, when it comes to talking about happiness as well.
Yeah.
But in business, I think for me, it's a very simple definition, is doing what we love with who we love in the way that we love. And a lot of times it's in the way that we love that's missing, right? Because we want more autonomy and we don't have. We want more flexibility and we don't have. We have a lot of bureaucracy and we don't like that. We feel stuck in the process or we don't trust people. So doing what we
definition.
love. Yeah. If you have these three components, then you'll have a great work life. Majority of people only have one or two and you can have a good life, but at some point you'll feel like you're
so
stuck.
how do we get to this? Like, it's to be continued, or is like there was a problem? How do we reach all these three elements, components, right?
Yes. Doing what you love, you really need to, nurture your talents. Just reinforce what you're good at, and just really try and bring that to your work life. If you're leading people, really try to make that match. And I think we started working a lot, and a lot of times that's fine. The problem is that we're in this constant effort, right? So if I work a lot, but I'm actually putting my best talents in the service of my work, I'll feel energized, right? If I work a lot and I'm constantly correcting my weaknesses, right? I will feel that I'm in this constant effort, and that becomes exhausting, and that becomes like impossible at some point to keep going. So try to put our best talents, and nurture them, and really do what we love. So that comes with a lot of self-awareness, self-knowledge, personal development, because a lot of people don't even know what they like doing it, right? So you need to, go down that path and just really expose yourself to different experiences. People are like, how do I find my purpose? Well, you got to open a lot of doors, try a lot of different things, because a lot of times you say, I would love to play piano. Then you actually play piano and you hate playing piano. So a lot of times what we project is not really how we feel during the experience. So try out a lot of stuff and then understand how you feel.
But just want to say something on the purpose one. I think I heard and I've seen one of the studies is that the number one reason of unhappiness is the lack of purpose.
Yeah.
And is it like something more with the Gen Z now, or is something in general?
I think it was already quite a long. It's been for a long time, because it's actually in this book, in the Conquest of Happiness from Bertrand Russell.
Yeah. So
and he talks about the 8 causes of modern unhappiness, and already there he's stating lack of meaning is the number one cause of unhappiness, especially in the workplace now. And I think it was there for a long time, and I think just the new generations are just
taking advantage.
Yes, exactly. So now they're just really coming with a very different perspective of how they want their lives to be, and they want their lives to be of quality, and just they want to work for a company where they identify themselves with the values, but also that those values are really reflected in their interactions, and that company is actually working for the greater good, not just for simple profit, simple capitalism, like They really guide themselves with conscious.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. That if
capitalism.
I actually look at it today, I think there's like more self-awareness.
Yeah.
People are, if I don't like what I'm doing, I will just quit the job. I attended the happiness camp this year, and I remember they were all talking about how unloyal are the Generation Z. But on the other hand, like, is it better like my parents, that they've been like for jobs in years and years, being unhappy and being, maybe, some of them were happy, but being like unsatisfied and like, I have this job and I'm going to retire. So I think it's better today. I think that they're like more they're just, is it good for me? Am I doing something that I'm happy? Do I have purpose? So I think actually we are progressing if I'm looking at it.
Yeah, we're always evolving, right? And with that, we need to adapt. So I always like to go back and understand, like, what the other generations, like, why did they work for, and were they miserable, were they happy? And then what we really understand is that the previous generation, they would work for survival, really. Our parents, they went through this technology revolution and they worked for status and living standards. The new generations, with the globalization, remote work, we can work here to anywhere, really. There's so much more opportunities. You can lose your job today, have another one, a better one tomorrow. So they just really want, to be happy. And I love that you spoke about loyalty, because the other day I was hearing this hearing this podcast, and someone was saying there was never loyalty, there weren't just many opportunities. And what I see now is that, lack of meaning was always there, because people, human beings really want to just, feel that we make a difference. We want to we want to feel special. We want to see the result of our task here and now, right? So what I think is that at least the new generations, they live and breathe this, really kicking off the market. But they are, making, millennials and boomers and all of those. They're like, oh, I can do that now, And then you see all the boomers now. I've worked so much all my life, and I've given so much to my company. Now it's like my rebellious time, and I also want to be happy. So it was always there. I just think that society wouldn't allow for it. Yeah. And I think they bring in that awareness.
And I also talk about other studies. I think there was, talking about there was a study on the people that they were about to die, on the deathbed. And one of the things were I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish all kind of stuff, wouldn't live my life how the others wanted me to live. But one of the things, there were like 3 or 4 stuff, but one of them was, I wish I didn't work as much. So
that's the issue, and that's also why we exist. I think that there's a change of paradigm when it comes to the role of work in your life. It became so central. It is the center of your life. Should it be? We should work to then get money or a means to live life. It shouldn't be the other way around, right? Yeah. And then you stop really fostering your friendships and your family just because you work all the time. That's not sustainable. I don't believe in that. So yes, that's what I preach. Work to live, don't live to work, and then you'll have a more sustainable health also to enjoy life. And I think that's it. At the end of the day, and I think we as human beings, we forget so quickly that this can finish.
Just like that.
Right when I go away here, I get in the car and I have an accident and everything,
God forbid. I feel guilty all my life.
I hope it's not going to happen, but you need to live with, with this sense of not urgency, but just really understand that this could happen, and don't drag, your life in a miserable way, and just create the life you want today. Of course, you need some resilience. I think the new generations also need to be more resilient as well, because it's in those periods that we also gain the best tools. But I think we have a lot to learn with them.
For sure. You mentioned evolution, right?
Yeah.
I was smiling. I was like, what was the question that what was the first question that
it always happens.
Yeah. It happens. But no, but I really want, you're so young and talking about work, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back to you're the founder of Happiness Business School.
Yeah.
And you're so young and you're doing so many things. And when I said, I was joking about September and October, like half joking, but I see
it was
you
difficult to.
You were so busy. You were so out there, and you're so we're gonna. There's so many things happening, and the school has had progress. But I want to.
They also our busiest months, corporate rentry. So
after after
they come with
August.
all these big plannings for the whole academic year.
Yeah.
So it's always our busiest.
The busiest months?
Yeah.
No,
but I do work a lot, but I also rest a lot. Otherwise, it's
we're gonna get to the resting. I love the resting part. Like I'm just asking everybody about tell me some tips about resting and recovery and no stress. And I wanted to ask you first about your journey with the Happiness Business School, because I don't know when did you create it? How did you create it? What inspired you?
Yeah.
Tell me the background.
It was a long journey. So I founded Happiness Business School unofficially in 2017, officially 2018, so 7 years, I think, making the calculations. And it was a byproduct of, a whole journey. Firstly, people look at me and like, oh, she's so peaceful and she's so happy, but it wasn't always like this. And I think I am the example of how you can transform your main struggle in life into your biggest purpose. And I really think that's a really good way of you finding your purpose, What is the thing that irritates you the more? What is your biggest struggle in life?
Biggest trigger.
Yes, if you learn how to overcome it, and if you learn the tools, and if you really, have success in that, then you can teach others. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, hold those causes really dearly, like if someone in your family passes away from suicide, you might be able to get the tools to overcome that, right? And then, dedicate your life to mental health causes. And I see a lot of people just getting fulfillment out of very difficult situations. So that's one way you can find your purpose. But so I was diagnosed with depression when I was as young as 10 years old, or even a little before that. I was a nightmare to my parents. I'm the middle child, the rebellious one, the one that always questioned everything,
We call it like the biscuit.
Yeah.
You know the expression?
Yeah.
It's like the one in the middle that needs to be seen and heard. And
And my siblings were quite easy when it comes to temper, and I remember my mom, she took me to psychiatrists and psychologists and lots of alternative therapies. She was just real desperate to help me, and nothing would really work, and when you don't feel good, that has a repercussion in every single behavior, and every single dynamic at home, with family, with friends, and so forth. I was getting some tools, of course, along the way, but then and it lasted, childhood and adolescence. A lot of people wouldn't say, but close family would always know, And my mom had this expression: is she with this really nice pink atmosphere vibe, energy today, or is she super in a dark mood, and she says that my evolution is that nowadays I have much more pink days, and it's a big conquest of her.
So I knew it. You have not always been this calm, right?
No. I was the opposite. It's been a lifelong journey. So, I've done my life, and then I studied law. I was doing, what.
Wait for a second. So what happened? So you had the depression, and then they took you, and then
I was diagnosed with depression, and then I was a kid that suffered. I couldn't feel good my whole childhood, my whole adolescence. I was having good days, and I was, being social. I was having, I had a very structured family, a very loving family, but I was a person that could never really feel good about myself, or just really feel good in general, right? So I was always the problematic kid, my whole life, really. And when I was 23, I think, I finished my course. So, I've done life like that. I started working really young as well. I wanted my financial independence. So I was already working when I was 14, 15, just to get pocket money. Traveling was a way of, escaping. And I did my life like this. When I studied law then, expected of me, and that's what I did. And I remember when I finished the course, the degree, I had this week where I felt this huge sense of abyss. I was so lost. I was really paralyzed. And because I had this pocket money, I remember I looked to a map and I asked myself, what is the furthest point on the globe that I can just go? And my finger pointed to Sydney, Australia. I really needed to be on the other side of the world.
Oh my God,
and
you were in Australia.
Yeah, and I booked a no-return ticket. And then I informed my family.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I like this story.
Yeah.
I didn't, okay.
Yeah, and then I just went. And I had no plan. And I was like
But
crying.
you're not supposed to have like a visa or something? Like, can you?
I just did those tourist electronic visa ones. It was quite easy. But then it was a whole journey to understand that it was very difficult to stay there. I do have my permanent residency today, but it was a long journey, 10 years on and off. So I go there and I am crying so much for 30 hours because I had no plan. I just decided to see what life was going to bring to me. I didn't know anyone. I had no work. And I didn't know where I was going to stay. So I decided I just need to go and see what life brings. And I remember arriving there and feeling this huge sense of freedom. And I'm like, here, I can just be
Myself.
whoever I want to be, And I understood, like my life can now be the result of every single step that I will give without the noise of other people's opinions, And then I also understood that pressure was a lot of times self-imposed, We create this definition of success. You observe in your little society, little bubble, that success is something, and then you feel suffocated by it. But people don't really tell you that you need to go through that way. It's you self-impose
Definitely.
yourself, but you feel much more free to just be yourself when you don't have that, those expectations
Of course.
around, or at least that you think that they have those expectations. And then I said to myself, I've been all these years, going to appointments and therapists and so forth. I wasn't paying for those. I'm just going to do something for myself, and I'll just really try and understand what's happening here in my, my brain, in my neural machinery, and just really try to understand what's happening. And it's when I started studying, I started with neuro-linguistic programming and then just coaching, all types of coaching at that time. And then I started just really mental health. And then I discovered positive psychology. And it's when, and it started making a lot of sense. And then I understood we also, as people, we are the construct of a quite, or the result or the byproduct of a quite obsolete and destructive education system as well. Because at home they might be saying, you can do this. But then the school is telling you success is this. At home they say, you can think critically. But then at school they're like, no, this is the only way. So that's that you're getting mixed messages while you're forming yourself. Then you don't really know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
But then anyway, I discovered positive psychology, and I say positive psychology has saved me, and then living, a life of purpose later I think it really healed me.
What a beautiful story. I had no idea,
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just wish I was like in the room when you told your parents you're flying. I wish.
Oh, my father started crying so much. He's a tough one,
I can just imagine like the reaction, right?
Yeah.
But what a journey.
It was difficult, but my mom looked at me and I'm like, I think
You can
just go. She always trusted me so much as well.
You see?
My father was just really crying, and it's not easy to make him cry.
My little baby girl, she's flying.
And then I just did life there, life went really well. So I started working in this international education group, in compliance and so forth. And life was going really well. One day I need to come back to Portugal. Because of visa problems, doesn't matter.
This is why I ask you, because I know in general it's very difficult. It's not an easy...
No, it was easy. I did get the sponsor, but then the company was bought out and it was a whole issue. Then I couldn't go back for like 3 years, and it was a hard situation. I'll tell you in off. But I was like, what is life trying to tell me? And when I come back, people are like, she's different. She's more whole. Like, she's more at peace. What happened? And life was going really well. And then I started, and people saw that difference, and life was going really well. And I started getting requests for help. People here in Portugal, they were not feeling happy. They were, working a lot. And I started, I was like, I don't have anything to give to them. I can't help them. And then I was thinking like, no, I do have some tools. I've learned a few things, I had those certifications and so forth. And then I started just really helping people, optimizing their lives. And this is the aha moment, is I understood, 95% of the people I was following and helping, their sources of unhappiness had to do with labor issues, with work issues. Wow. They either had very toxic leadership or toxic cultures. A lot of times they loved what they did, but they had this huge workload that just really, eroded the passion and the vocation and the purpose sort of way of working. Or a lot of times they also had a great life and they didn't know how to value, which was my mindset growing up, because I come from a privileged sort of background. And I understood, there's something here that is not being worked, which is happiness in the workplace. Everyone is miserable because of their work. And it's how the whole concept arrived. And I said, I need to work, because we're like, most of our awake time, we're working. And I said, I need to bring happiness to the workplace so we can bring happiness to the everyday life. And it's how the concept
beautiful
has arrived. Yeah.
I was thinking...
You didn't know?
No, I didn't know all this. And thank you for sharing. And before I was preparing the questions for today, I was thinking, of the first time we talked, together. I don't know if we had like this call, like a 30 minutes call. And I remember I talked to you, and except for like the good vibe that you gave me, I don't think you remember, but so I proposed like I had this plan of program,
I'm
like
having
for
memory issues at the moment.
the well-being program, like for relocation, for expat families in the relocation, something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember I talked to you, and you was like, a lot of people have like very good ideas. But I want to ask you, like, what is your business model? Like, who would pay for this? And all of a sudden, like, I'm talking about like 20. I don't think we talked for 30 minutes. We talked for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But I had it all clear in my mind. And so my first of all, I want to thank you for this.
Then I helped you structure. Now it's coming back.
Yeah. No, you were just asking the right questions. Like, this girl, like, she knows what she's doing. Like, So going back and back to work and back to the
I just love. I have this, which is something along the way, and I've loved on this entrepreneurial sort of journey. I just understood what I love, and what I love is really to help people with their businesses as well.
Yeah.
And just structuring. So I've been always that person, for my friends that want to have a new business. I'm like, I just structure everything, and I want to do everything for them. And I'm like, no, I'm just disempowering them.
Yeah.
And it's funny because also at Happiness Business School, I understood that after a while of doing something or setting up something, I need to do something else. And I think that's also my role. So I've just done that because I love it.
I was like, oh my God, she understands what she's talking about, for a few minutes, back. So going back to the happiness business model. Yeah. And going back to, what, I want to ask you first about some challenges, and then I want to talk a bit about the programs and what you guys doing, like all the initiatives and all the amazing programs that luckily I've been part, and I can say myself that, I've done some of the programs, and it's just lovely what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's funny because I now have a much more clear way of understanding business, but when I started, I had no way. I had no idea, honestly. So I didn't have what Happiness Business School is now is really a result of here and now research. you know, knocking on HR departments' doors, understanding what they needed, what they didn't need. Because, okay, I want to do this, but I don't know how. You know, I have no idea how. It actually started with a whole different business model. And then I understood that was not sustainable. And then I understood through these conversations what would be, you know, what companies would buy, what the real challenges were, and also the format that it would really work. So it actually took quite a while. And then, you know, we're approached by this company that wants this partnership. And then, you know, that person comes and brings an idea, and it was a construction. So it was never really, I'm just going to do this, and this is the business model. No, I was building along the way. Now it's very clear, but it took like more than a year, 2 years to just really figure it out in a clear way. And now I can help other people because I have a more understanding of what works and what doesn't.
Now you're on a track, right?
Yes. What did I find? And you were asking the challenges. The challenges is that I didn't have that understanding at the time, but what I was doing was I was creating a whole new category.
Especially here in Portugal.
Yes, especially here in Portugal.
Even today, you know, I'm sharing this with people. And there were some people in the VCs and like they looked at me. I went for like a reunion of MBA. Like, really in Portugal will be like there's no budget exactly for this now. They looked at me like, oh my god, like okay, good luck with that, girl. So
that was the main challenge, was that everyone is like, happiness what? You know, happiness and work. I had friends telling me happiness and work will never come together. You can't put those in the same sentence, let alone on a title of a company, you know, like on a name, that's not going to happen. And the main challenge was that, well, you started this podcast saying I was young. So I was young, I was a woman, I was bringing a disruptive idea.
You are young.
Well, I'm 35.
I won't even tell you when I'm turning. I have the big F this
on the way to 36. I've got a 7-year-old boy. I'm not that young anymore. Well, I already see I'm on my way to 40s. You should definitely
watch out. We're going to talk in 10 years from now, and then I have you on TV.
Yeah. But it's funny because I suffered from that stigma when I started. So all this, and I was talking about something that was quite new to the market. In a market that was, you know, it was being led by, you know, typical old male corporate suit people. And it wasn't easy, you know, to just build that credibility and also build, you know, quality programs that actually made the difference. So I needed to be very resilient. I needed to prove to the world that this was needed. And I'm like, how is it possible that happiness and work cannot coexist in the same sentence if unhappiness and work, they coexist in the sentence every single day? So it's very clear that we have a big problem here. But then I'm very persistent and I am obsessed. When I put something on my mouth, I am obsessed and I go till the end, sometimes a bit too much.
It's never too much, but I know what you mean. Like you get fuel. I always say I get fuel from the people. I would like to thank to all the people that told me no in the past.
That person too.
Just because, you know, they give me like more, like they give me more motivation, and I'm getting more ambitious, and I know what I can. But I know what I can only imagine what you've been through. With such a country that it's so I wouldn't say like I didn't want to say Catholic, but like conservative, traditional.
But I had this. Firstly, before I used to have that personality, like don't tell me no, I'll prove you wrong. Now I don't really care what other people think. I just really felt the world needed this and the market really needed this. And then you just do little steps. You try something here and you try something that. And then, you know, we launched this training, and then, you know, some people come and then they post on LinkedIn. LinkedIn was the way we grew the most, really. People posting, you know, the training and the certificates and this and that. And then we started growing very organically. It wasn't easy. What I see is that a lot of entrepreneurs really want, you know, to collect the results you know, from one day to the other. I took my first salary 2 years later. I was putting everything back in the company. Of course, I had to make choices in life. Of course, my family had to make choices in life. At some point, I was really working full-time for a company having already my team paying salaries to make sure that if there was missing in the company, I could put from my own money. So I always try to just balance that out. So you need a lot of resilience and persistence. But like I just fundamentally really believe that the market needed this. And then when you work for so long and you work on that consistency, you will also be at the vanguard of the movement, and people, whenever they're ready to do that and to talk about that and to just invest in the work, you'll be front of mind. So I always worked for the long term, never for the short term. And I think that's a mistake a lot of entrepreneurs.
They don't get it.
Yeah. It is really about the long term. Otherwise,
But look at you now, right? On those stages and proving them wrong. And the concept works. So
now I don't feel like I
you
need to
prove anymore. I think this is the
market started speaking for itself, especially the new generations, and I'm a millennial, especially, and then you have Gen Z and you'll have Alpha coming soon, stepping into the market.
Yeah.
And then you have this huge challenge, which is to maintain people in companies and to attract people, and to just really get productivity out of them. And the driver, the engine is really well-being and happiness. You'll never get anyone engaged if they're not happy. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And it's funny that the market started speaking for itself, and I don't have to prove anymore. So
I think that you guys helped the market to get to the point where they understand that a happier person is being more performant. Like you're getting better results if the employees are happy. I don't think it got there because, as I said, like with awareness. But I think you also helped develop, right? Like here in Portugal.
Yes, absolutely. I think so. And it's and I remember
you should take credit. You should own it. Like
a little bit. But I remember I would have to bring all these studies to prove, happiness really correlates to more productivity. There's lots of studies, proving that now. But at the moment we don't have to prove anymore. Like it's the other way around. Like just companies really reaching out, like begging, please help us because we can't attract talent, we can't retain talent. We all hate the word retain. So it is more important than ever. And the main question that people ask, in recruitment interviews is, how is the culture here? So that tells a lot. So you need to work on that prevention rather than just being always on reaction. You need to just be one step ahead, creating that. And what we've done, and I think the distinctive factor is that there's lots of, academic and happiness, academic sort of courses out there. What I try to create from what I've seen, that the biggest challenge was to create a very clear, concise, practical framework to help companies just really assessing, diagnosing what's happening, what's our reality, checking in, and then how are we moving forward? What I saw is that we have business plans for everything. You have business plans for marketing, for communications, forecasting, financial, this and that. You don't have a business plan for people.
For employees,
HR was so focused, on labor law and admin.
I think
what
they
about
still
people
are.
and culture? Yeah. What about...
Maybe I'll take this part. Maybe we'll edit this part.
No, that's fine. You can be provocative, but it's true, like you can have HR for admin and then you can have, people and culture for more like well-being and just really forecasting for people, just really how can they progress, how can we maintain, that emotional link to from employees to the company, how can, just build those career plans, how we ensure that we maintain connection and productivity and, and performance and so forth. You need to do that work.
You were talking, you know what I was thinking? I've recently graduated from the CHO, from the Happiness Chief Officer program. And I remember that, that part with the traction, onboarding, and then retention and offboarding.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about the programs that you guys put together.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'm always like the connection from my brains. tell me a bit about the programs that you're doing actually in the
Yeah.
companies and for the companies. And
Well, we have 2 certifications. So you have the Happiness Manager certification and the Chief Happiness Officer certification. People a lot of times ask, like, what's the difference? You know, like, there's no right or wrong, right? The way we see that is that every single company should have a Chief Happiness Officer at the C level, right? So you have a CEO for executive strategy, you have COO for operational strategy. You should have, a well-being at that level for people, because nurturing your human resource that will drive you the results. If you just explore that till the last resource available, then you will get no results. It's as simple as this, right? So you should have an overall organizational strategy, especially if you are a multinational company, right? And then, in my view, every single director, coordinator, supervisor should be a happiness manager. So you should then implement and personalize that overall strategy to your own team, right? That's the only way you can actually build a sustainable strategy, because the issue is that the bigger the companies, the higher the distance. The higher the distance,
the
lower
hierarchy,
the happiness and well-being, because you lose connection, you lose communication, and you lose skills along the way. And middle management a lot of times are the ones, they are the gatekeepers for happiness and well-being. So you need to teach people, and equip people and skill up. So
Prevent,
they can
not treat.
Absolutely, so that they can implement and execute that strategy, and everyone is on the same page. Also, because, let's say you work with a big retail company, the person that is in the cashier will not have the same daily routine as the admin people or the marketing people. They have their very different routines. So you need to make that, a personalized plan. So it's what we created was a framework. It's a little bit like a SWOT analysis. It is very simple, but something that really, makes companies, help companies just having a guideline in between what are the challenges, in attraction, onboarding, recruitment, development, fidelization, offboarding, diagnose that. According to that, just really understand what are you wanting to, what are the essential priorities, what are the main goals to that. According to the main goals, okay, we will do. These are emotional salary strategies. What is an emotional salary? Everything that we can do that is not a financial remuneration or a reward to employees that can really boost their well-being and productivity. According to that, let's actually bring serious, talk to this and credibility. Identify what will be your, performance indicators. What are you trying to achieve with this?
Yeah.
Are you trying to just reduce absenteeism or, increase productivity or reduce turnover, whatever it is, and how will you track that? And then, calendarize budget and all that. So it is a very simple framework that...
It's like a plan, actually.
Absolutely.
Like the CHO
it is
actually
an
puts
organizational happiness plan.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And it has helped a lot of companies just stay on track, right? And then we give the tools to just monitor, stay on track and so forth. So our programs, they end up with this action plan. So whenever they finish, and we have both certifications, and we also have the MBA, I'll talk about
Exactly, yeah.
But our methodology is, one, you cannot change your team and your organization if you don't change yourself.
Lead by example.
Lead by example. So it starts within. So we always guide them also on a storytelling, like, okay, before talking about happiness, let's diagnose what are the main sources of individual unhappiness. Then what are the main sources of organizational unhappiness? Why are we doing this work? Because stress, anxiety are our best friends at the moment, or our major enemies, right? Depression, burnout have reached outrageous rates. So we need to just really rethink the way we work, and it is people's responsibility in companies to create an environment where people can flourish, and then every single employee, their individual happiness is their own responsibility. But then we uncover, the science of happiness and the latest research, and then positive psychology. How can we apply positive psychology into our leadership and into this framework? So every single day you're applying theory in the framework, framework, and then you'll get an action plan. And that's how HR directors, people in culture professionals have been able to sort of revolutionize at least their department to start with, run pilot programs, and then extend to the whole company. It's been crazy.
It's been amazing because I've been part of these two programs, honestly, and the mix between, the management, like the business and the positive psychology, just at the end of the day, you're applying some stuff and you're getting some results.
And it's what our clients say. Like, I've done other courses, but then I'm like, where do I start? And that's what we do. We guide them, throughout the courses. Then we have the MBA, so that was another
That's
crazy.
Longer.
We had a few years ago, I think it was 2019, we had this possibility to co-create a postgrad course, really, an MBA with a university, in a partnership with a university, and we launched the MBA, which is a 6-month course, and it dives deep, And the richness of the program is that every single module, every single week is delivered by a different teacher.
But is it online or like in class?
It is live online at the moment because, we have Portuguese edition and we have English edition.
Right, yeah.
And people are everywhere. So, Portuguese edition, we might have participants from Brazil and Angola and Portugal, or even Portugal, just, people spread out. So we started with it face-to-face and hybrid, but then at some point, it's every single Tuesday and Thursday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., after a busy day. On, winter semesters, we would have just less than half of the class, face-to-face, and the other one at home. So we decided to do live online because it's easier to, and also it's also easier for the teacher and professors to teach. But then a lot of times they want to see each other because
of course,
great groups are created with great dynamics. So they can choose with the professor whenever they want face-to-face, and they'll do it at Happiness Business School. And the English one is always live online because we have people in different countries, so it's very difficult. But it is the same methodology, but we dive deep as well into lots of different modules. It is an intense journey. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, and then we have this corporate sort of, just to finish. We have our corporate portfolio. So the way we work with companies is really, with leaders. So top management, middle management, promoting a positive leadership, not only on the leadership side, but also on the management one, culture of planning, how I actually, deal with the issues that I have with my team, also working with our frameworks. But on another note, because what we started seeing is that a lot of times companies are trying to do more and more and more, and people just keep complaining and complaining and complaining. So big part of the work we do in companies is really to promote that positive psychology as well with employees, so that they can value what they have rather than what they don't have, So
very
they can
important,
see, and whenever you do that work aligned is really when you can impact and really transform a culture from its root. If you just do one, or if you just do the other one,
it doesn't.
No, you're just throwing sand in people's eyes, because you need to build receptiveness for whatever leadership want to do. Yeah. But leadership, a lot of times, is also a hard place to be, right? Because if there's no reception, so you need to do both aligned. And when you
easy.
do, it's not easy, but when you do, it's magical. Yeah.
When it happens, it's like, wow.
Yeah. Wow. The issue is it's really consistency, right? Yeah, because a lot of companies, they want quick fixes.
Of course,
because we have no time. A lot of times, we just don't have time. So we stop doing that, Whenever we work, for companies now, it's really, if it's not a keynote speech that we give so many, of course, but a lot of times it's just to get a foot in the door, It's real long-term leadership programs and long-term training programs, because you need to learn the theory and then you need to integrate that.
Exactly, you have to apply it. Like, it doesn't matter if you have the theory, the idea is like to actually apply the concepts into.
Absolutely. Because otherwise, you just go there. Okay, you have a 3-day intensive training program. You want to change the whole culture now, and you want to just
like the team
revolutionize
buildings,
everything.
right? They go in the forest like for a day per year, and then why? Like,
and then you want to do all this, and then at the first resistance you find, you just give up. So the goal is that we partner on that. Okay, this is the challenge. This is what we'll keep doing. And whenever that's a long-term project, that's so much more sustainable, and that we actually see results.
Interesting.
Ooh, I talked a lot now.
Wait, just a second. Take a sip of water. I just wanted to ask you about the same question. I wanted to ask you before talking about these programs, about this chief happiness officers. I wanted to ask you some milestones. Give me some numbers. Tell me.
What do you mean? How many people?
Yeah.
I think we have a network of just within happiness managers, chief happiness officers, MBAs. In August was around about 1,500. So 1,500 alumni, I would say.
That's
not
good.
to count with our corporate work. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
For many more.
Yeah, hopefully. And now we have our consultants. Something that we started to develop because I think my vision, it was just really to become a global recognized brand. Not for ego, but really, I really think that we need to just bring this in an authentic way to the whole world.
Yeah.
And it was in 2019, I think also, I was approached by a Brazilian consultant company at the time, Renata Rivetti.
Yeah.
And she was like, Madalena, I want to represent Happiness Business School in Brazil. See how I always read the market, listened to the market, and just always sort of adapted. Didn't do everything, but just whatever made sense. I just looked into it and I said, okay, like what? Like a franchise? What? And then I just, figured out a business model that, would help us grow as a global presence and a global brand, but would give people that would really want to do this work, in their local countries and local regions, and to bring that sort of structure behind them if they were just starting. So we piloted that, and it was
quite successfully.
Yeah, it was a huge success, especially in Brazil. And then we rolled out. So now we have a network of consultants, and they represent the brand, and they can take our programs to their clients. And the goal is really to build this network and
to extend on different markets.
And they can network as well, and on their clients as well. And I do have a few things that I still want to do with that network, just expand the MBA with local universities, with the help of the consultants as well. So there's a lot of work to do, but I think I'm like, maybe we'll just, become a big octopus, and we'll impact further together, And
you just led me to my next question. The vision, like, where do you see the school, like, let's say 5 years from now, or what's your vision for the school?
Yeah. I always said I wanted to be the Harvard of happiness. That was quite ambitious. Not in the business model or not in anything, but just when it comes to, as a global brand and the credibility that it has regarding the programs, the quality, and that credibility. So I just see as, I've been doing a lot of new things in the past year. So what I envision now is to really just keep doing what we're doing really well, and just keep gaining, not market share, but really just growing the brand, with our new consultants. My vision is really to become, the most credible and recognized purpose-driven education. I think it's really my vision. Yeah, I love the concept of, purpose-driven education. And I think like people are really looking at the degrees are becoming obsolete, and even just HR management masters, they're becoming a bit obsolete as well, and people just really want like fresh education and really purpose driven, and I think that's where we're going. Where I see myself in 5 years and Happiness Business School in 5 years, really growing that. Maybe I can tell you a secret, which is I don't think that in the future I will be Happiness Business School CEO in a way that I love to create, I love to inspire, I have this entrepreneurial spirit, and I will always be part of the strategy. But I think maybe in the future I'll bring something to run the company on a more on the daily operations, someone perhaps more strategic, more KPIs driven and so forth. I think I'll go that way, to be honest. But that comes with understanding not only your talents, but where do you really want to be? I'll always be there as a founder, perhaps as the face of it, just really always sharing the mission. Yeah. But then I think I'll have someone as a CEO. I would love that. Maybe I'll have more holidays.
Yeah, maybe definitely holidays are important. Yeah. And first, I want to wish you a lot of success.
Thank you.
I wish we would meet in 5 years and you even you passed all your wildest dreams.
Then you'll be with us.
Yes, amen to that too. And I also have I'm just saying, I wish I would just have the power and the health and the focus to do everything what I want to do, because there's so many possibilities.
You have to prioritize, which is something that that's very important. My husband used to say you've had so many projects over the year, and then you had to decide. Exactly. I had a lot of ideas, but then I had to decide, which one you'll focus yourself on, and what the market really needs,
demand and the...
and then I was just very passionate about it. But it's very easy when you're in the beginning to want to do a lot of things, you know. And then I went down that path at some point. Clients were asking this and clients were asking that, and I just wanted, to provide and to provide and to provide. Yeah. And then what you see is that you start being mediocre in medium sort of, you get this medium delivery, let's say, and you should just be really good at something, gain that market share, and when you have that all figured out and sort of automized, systemized, then you jump to the other one. And that's how I've kept the past years. A lot of people come, I have these old ideas and ideas for us, and I'm like, I don't need more ideas. I have a lot of ideas. Don't worry. It's really just solidifying, and that takes time.
Noted. I like that.
Yeah.
Very, very good advice.
Yeah. So focus. What also brings you joy in doing it, and also, especially at that stage, you really need to focus 80% of your time is just bring visibility to your project, and 80% of your time should be focused on sales, because money really is the fuel to your vision. And I was not money driven for a long time, and I paid my bill for that. But at some point I needed to understand, money is good. Money brings comfort. Money pays bills. Money pays salaries. And it's not just all impact. You need to have, an eye on that, because it is really the engine for you to just, hire more people and get further on your mission. So 80%.
No, let me take some notes here before we wrap up. But at last,
are we wrapping up?
Yeah. Are we wrapping? No, we still have time.
Sending us away.
We have more time, but I want to ask you something, because you mentioned your husband and you mentioned your family, and I want to go back to the balance. And yes, and you are an entrepreneur, and you're a mother. And you are very fond of your self-growth, right? Self-development.
Very fond.
Very fond of that. We can
it's a daily practice.
So, my question is, can we have it all? How do we get this balance to, how do you do it all?
We can have it all. You just need to define what your all is, I get quite emotional, but nobody has asked me that, to be honest. I'm not the typical person that has, or woman that has, how do you manage your kids, or how, But it's funny because I do feel some stigma when it comes to, I share a lot about my work on Instagram and LinkedIn, and just because I have more exposure in the sense that I expose my work, I know that a lot of people assume that I am not with my family and that I am not with my kids. And being a mom is, I feel that. And people are like, oh, you work so much. And I'm like, I don't work more than you. I might work less than you. I just really, at some point I did sacrifice that. I had a burnout when I was 30, when I had my second daughter. I was juggling a lot, I learned the hard way, but it was also very important for the stage of the business. So I do not regret. Mm-hmm. But I will disclose here that I needed to do some, therapy in relation to let go of the guilt of me as a woman wanting to, have my own business and be a credible professional, and having ambition. And that can be done with you as being a great mother, I get out of the office at 4 p.m. and I'll go pick up my kids. But people don't see this, right? All they see is that, she's providing a keynote there, she's running a team there. But perhaps I worked less than someone else in an office, working from 8 to 8. What I've learned is that there's lots of balls in the air. Mm-hmm. You are a wife, you are a mother, you are a business owner, you run a family, and then you have to do all things so you need to just, get tools and strategy and this great support system. Like that's the real key. But I do feel that stigma a lot of times, and that guilt at some point, especially with my son. Matheus, he's 7, and Happiness Business School is also 7. So I launched both at the same time. Yes.
Wow.
And that wasn't easy, but I think you just really need to prioritize. So perhaps what I've been sacrificing more at the moment is less time with my friendships. I don't think I'm sacrificing time with my family, but I might be sacrificing time with my friend. Well, I'm it's not a might. I am doing it, but it's a choice. So I think, in different stages of life, you just really need to understand what's essential to me, and doing what I love is essential to me. And, being a good mother and a good family person is very essential to me. And I truly believe you can have both. What you need to do is really to just establish your priorities, learn how to say no. And I was obliged to delegate a lot. My team tells me I delegate way too much now.
This is between me and you.
I became very good at delegating.
I this is also like I think that I'm excellent at this, like giving to the others. Yeah. But just for a second, like I want to stay on this one. So give me like one advice, like for women that are struggling, like they're trying to struggle all this, and then what would you tell them?
I did go and I was doing this inner work with the person that and I remember her just. It was when I was actually feeling very overwhelmed, too many things to do, no time to do it. And one simple question is, who do you want to be for your business, and who do you want to be for your family? And I just defined that very clearly, how do you want your days to be? And I said, I want to work from this time to this time. If I tell you that I work every single day from 10 to 4 and I don't work more than that, sometimes I work from midday to 4 p.m., But then some days I'll do sprints. Some days I'll work 40 hours straight. But then some days I will not, And it's really just understanding that balance. I do work a lot, but I rest up a lot. And that burnout that I had just really gave me this notion of you are not a superhero. You are not responsible for other people's lives. So something that I had to do was also to delegate a lot at home. Because we think we can do it all, and we just, as women, and a lot of times we disempower our partners because of that as well. So establish a list of priorities, establish a list of I actually did this, everything that I was doing on a daily basis, and I crossed everything that I didn't want to do anymore.
Ooh, I like this.
And it was a list of 20 things, and I just wanted to do 3, and I found ways to just. either delegate or eliminate. So something that I ask every single time now, every time I look at my schedule and it's packed up, is like, is this essential? If not, I'll cancel. Is this essential? If not, I'll cancel. But for this, I had to do therapy to let go of the guilt. I remember my team looking at me and I felt so guilty by saying no to people, you know, and especially, you know, people look at Happiness Business School, they're like, they want to come and work with us and, you know, they're miserable at their work. So they think that they'll be happy there. So we have constant people wanting to talk to us because we might be a light at the end of the tunnel. And I wanted to help everyone, you know, and I wanted to do a million things in a day. And at some point, you know, this is my work and I am already helping this way. And I need to forgive myself for not being able to just keep going. Because if I keep going and go the extra mile for every single person, and that's also a little bit arrogant of myself, thinking that I can fix everyone and I am responsible for everyone. That was not in my favor at all. Then I start, you know, lacking for myself, lacking for my team. And then I can't even help on the little ways that I was helping. So I've done a list of everything that I was doing. And at some point I'm like, I do not want to do this. I just delegated. And then every single time, is this essential? If it's not essential, I'll stop doing it. The thing is that we set up the bar too high for ourselves. But I was telling you, I needed to do therapy to let go of the guilt. I felt guilty. I felt that I had this external imposed guilt that I am a female business owner. And just that means I am not a family person or I'm not a good mother. I created that belief. And
Maybe you should give me the name of the therapist for myself also.
Yeah, I'll give you.
And for many
Yeah,
other
I'll give
people,
you-
I think that it's
yeah.
like guilt is
Yeah,
like
she's
the
in
number
Cascais.
one.
And it's very funny because it went back to my childhood. Who do you want to impress the most? Then you need to put on this sort of energy. And then if you say no, you think people will not like you. If people
course.
not like you, they will attach it to the brand. Then there's no business. Then you can't provide. It was a whole deconstruction of it. And now I feel free as a bird. And I feel that, you know, you need to be okay to provide to other people. So I try to be that center. So just really nurture myself.
I love that.
I didn't give one single tip, but just really, ask yourself, is essential everything you do? Establish priorities. What are your non-negotiables? And everything else, eliminate or delegate.
I think that I just had a talk with a friend of mine, and I think one of the most difficult parts is like to learn to say no to people, because then they won't like you.
It was my biggest learning.
Yeah, I'm starting to get better at that.
Yeah.
And I'm always saying that I'm not Mother Teresa. I cannot help everyone.
Yeah.
There are people that I think that they don't want to be helped and they just want to like play the victims, you know?
Absolutely. And and I think that for a long time when I was just, because, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, and it's growing. So you're always juggling, you know, resources with growing. It's the growing pains, really, resources. Then you might not be able to delegate, but you do have a lot of work. So you're always sort of dancing. But you said a word, victimization. And for a long time, well, not for a long time, but for a long time maybe, I was just like, so much work. You know, that victimization. Then I understood, no, I'm actually very responsible for my schedule. And if I am feeling overwhelmed, is because I'm looking at it and all these things, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do them. So if I look at my schedule and I just decided that everything that is on my schedule, I want to do this. And if I don't want to do this, I will not do this, you know? And that was an exercise that I started doing. So
It's also, I think it comes with maturity also.
Absolutely. And then when it's full, you know it's full because you decided that it's full. The thing is, it's something that I've learned along the way. Like, I need to protect my schedule and my agenda because nobody else will. People will try, you know.
The same with me.
To everyone. It happens to everyone, in every single person, in every single company. We will take over other people's agendas and schedules.
Yeah, without even, like one this,
No, you have to protect it. you know?
I also say that, like, if, I can book like coffees with people or lunches or catch up, and I always have someone to catch up with, and then make me feel guilty that I didn't see them or I didn't have time or something. I can book my schedule from 9:30 a.m., like, since I leave my kids, to 4:30 or 5 p.m. only like with these people.
Yeah.
Or I can actually do some work for myself.
Yeah.
It's a very strong struggle, but I think also as an entrepreneur, when you don't have like a fixed schedule, I think it's super important to like this discipline and
have
to
discipline. That's but I was always very disciplined in that sense, and I think that's what kept us going, like at some point I was working a lot, but then I got very tired a few years. But every single day I would just do something. I wasn't even working that much, but I kept on doing something. And I think it's really that little consistency. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs, they give it all today and then they don't do anything tomorrow. And just learn to rest, just don't stop. But
I like that. Madalena, this interview is like beyond my expectations. Like it just, honestly, I thought we're gonna talk about some boring corporate statistics, and it came.
I can bring you those.
No, it was literally human and sweet and with a lot of empathy. I didn't even know the story, and so thank you so much for sharing, for taking the time, and for putting me in your schedule. Right. I'm looking forward.
No, I love your project. I actually saw the podcast before I knew you, and it's funny. So congratulations on the project. I think it's much needed, to spread the message. And you'll be a consultant of Happiness Business School. You haven't told the podcast. That's why I was like, you'll be working with us. Don't know if you wanted to say, but
of course.
So let's do great things together.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Relocate to happiness.